Hello, diary listeners. Wow, it's so nice to be able to speak again. So, this week I'm calling Plague Survivor because that's that's been my experience for the past week. Welcome to the Apprenticeship Diaries, where raw meets refined.
Let's be real, we're still working on refining.
What it took, what it takes, and the stories that are made.
Join us as we learn from professionals about how their stories began.
As avid listeners well know, I was out last week. I had hoped to recover soon enough that I might be able to put out a late diary entry last week. I didn't have a pre-recorded show to offer all of you. I also barely had the energy to do much outside of just general coordination of... I have a guest spot coming up this week at Dapper Dog in Annapolis, and it was everything I had in me to move all the appointments that I had for last week and prepare for this week at a shop I've never worked at before. So it was quite a bit, and then just honestly relax enough to truly heal. It was an interesting illness. Honestly, it's something that I've never really experienced before. It felt like I was getting sick for about 3 days, and then it didn't finally reach its full blossom until like 4 days in, and then it was like it was like a few days of just unending sickness that just felt like it was going to take forever. I mean, it really didn't feel like it was going to end. And it was persistent. I don't know what it was. I can't say if it was COVID or not. It struck me as a lot of things. It was not the same as when I had COVID two times prior to this, but that was years ago. I don't know what's happened to that virus since I had it last. All I can say is that it was persistent, and it definitely was contagious because I know the exact moment I caught it. I relaxed with Rico. He had it for a considerable amount of time, and in my mind I was thinking, well, maybe it could be just an exacerbation because Rico doesn't really slow down well or take much, the classic things that you do, drinking tea and resting and stopping and taking yourself out of a lot of physical aspects of life. He just keeps pressing on, and I was thinking to myself, well, maybe he's having a perpetuation of this because he doesn't stop, and he isn't doing the things that I would do to make sure that I conquer this sooner. And, I had to be very diligent with making sure that he took medication for it, suppressing it. So I was just thinking, well, maybe his is just lasting so long because he's not doing the things that, I would do in order to combat it. I found out that wasn't true. We relaxed in a time when he was, kind of seeming like he was getting over it a bit. And I had been avoiding him all week and truly trying to just be like, hey, let's keep our faces away from each other. Let's in general try to maintain space as much as two people who live together, sleep next to each other can. We were both like changing sheets and washing things, and just out of nowhere I kissed him, and I remember the exact moment that happened, that I was like, oh, and he was like, oh, he's like, go wash your mouth out. And I was like, no, it's done. I'm not going to go wash my mouth out. If I get sick, I get sick. And that's what did it, diary listeners. That's what did it. So it kind of sucks because there was a lot that I wanted to kind of talk about that was really cool. The week prior, I had been on Realm of Collectors and Shelf Gravy with my friend JD Brocious and his wife Chan, and they do a regular YouTube meet on Wednesday evenings. And it's really cool, man. And I went over JD's home, well, JD and Chan's home, and it's, their life is an experience, listeners. I mean, it is incredible, the home that they have created. And it's beyond words, honestly. It's really what I think, if you remove what societal expectations put on you as a person, what you can do. I mean, really, it was like watching, I was like in a show that you watch on TV about people who create their own spaces, and it was unbelievable, the space that they have created, that they are continuing to create for themselves, because it's far from done, but the level of creation that their home is right now, and it's such a cool home. I believe that he said that it wasn't completed originally until like 1870, and it had originally been constructed for one of the owners of the steel mills. And it's really cool because it's way up on top of a hill in PA. And you can tell why the owner of the steel mill would want to have this location, because he could actually see the entire landscape of the mill that he ran. And it was a really great onlooker to the whole thing. And so it has this epic view, beautiful big windows, lots of light, just gorgeous. And then it got bought by the Catholic Church, and it was a nunnery for a while, or convent, I guess. And that's also a really cool, background. But they're doing a lot of incredible things with the architecture of the space. And on top of it, they're collectors. And when I say collectors, they collect miniatures of almost everything that you can think of. Movies, there's different lines of miniatures, different lines of, action hero figures. JD does custom builds. They create their own I guess, what would you call them, setups, it's like doll houses, but for like action figures, and they personalize and construct all of these different things. The only thing that I can say that in my experience that I can equivocate it to is there is a YouTube channel that I follow, and of course I am blanking on it right now. I'm going to look up it in the moment that I'm blanking on it so that I can belay it to you. But it's this girl that just basically creates all of the different she makes everything. She like carves styrofoam, and she creates these awesome spaces, and it's just incredible. Let's see here if she pops up for me. Of course, it gives me the latest of what I'm following and what my subscriptions are to, what I like here. Thank God this is a podcast that you guys expect me to be not polished on. Praise God. Of course she's not popping up. But she was, what was her thing? Maybe she'll pop up with the thing that she did really cool resin paintings. Like she did layered resin paintings. resin paintings. And I found her through that. Oh, here she is. Oh, Nerd Forge. That was her name on her channel, Nerd Forge. She's like epic. She's huge. I'm so happy that came up. I follow her. I guess I didn't follow her. Now I'm subscribed to her. It's so stupid because I loved her. But she's awesome. And her channel on YouTube has grown and grown and grown. She does so many epic things. But basically, what she does on a regular basis is what JD and his cohorts and wife and everybody get together and do regularly I think it's every other Wednesday that they meet at like 9:30 on YouTube live, and they stream live and they share whatever they're building or working on with you. They open up things, they reveal certain collector items, they show you the packaging, whether or not it's worth it, share information. And let me just say that if you saw this home that I got to experience, I feel so blessed to know somebody like JD, and I've known him for a few years now, and I cannot even believe that I didn't realize how amazingly awesome he is and his wife. Like, their relationship, I told him when I was leaving, I was like, your life is an experience, man, and his house is an experience, and being on their show was such a great honor and experience. I hope that I lended something to it. But I joined all of them. I am not a collector of anything like that. My house is a collection of my clients, I guess, and it's random. It has notes of the same kind of spirit as him and Chan, but nothing nothing to the scale of it. I mean, if you want to dream, going in their home and seeing all that they've done to their space and to their lives and what they've given themselves, I think the permission to be is so epically cool. And it's just so massively creative, and I'm just overwhelmed by it, honestly. There's not really enough I can say. And I don't really think that they're I don't know. I haven't frequented their channel enough to see the progress of it, but these clips that you get on the internet, it's nothing compared to the actuality. It's just a glimpse of just how awesome it is when you get to feel it and experience it in person. It's just so awesome. I mean, I'm assuming I'm talking to a lot of people who, if you're a listener, you are interested in tattooing, you are in an apprenticeship journey of your own, you've run across me in some kind of time and space, and so, you are drawn to these aspects of life that really make you have to put yourself personally, physically in alignment with it. And so I'm sure that whoever's listening already understands that nothing can compare to the actuality of it. But if you want a really good reference to this, I interviewed JD a few podcasts ago, and I would ask you to reinvest in listening to his again, and then check out again his show on Wednesday nights. It's not his show. It's a group show. He joined it a while ago. But it's just so cool. And these other guys that I got to meet were really awesome. And one of the guys joined us late, and like seeing what he was working on in his home, and then everybody's meeting each other as far as personality wise. It's just super cool, man. I'm a nerd. Like, I'm a nerd if nothing else, and I'm sure that the show draws in nothing but nerds. So I really wanted to report about that. I guess I am right now and just did, but it's closer when it's, and I'm able to give more account of that, as it happens. I think the big thing is that I'm just so excited to be back and to be putting out a show, which is, I guess, going to segue us into what my next announcement is. It's not going to be a formal announcement just because I don't really know the direction yet, but I'm seeking to rebrand the show a bit. Not anything in terms of the name. Apprenticeship Diaries stays. That's what it is. But I want to start playing with it a little bit more, and I'm willing to be more of a regular host on it. The original want was to introduce you to all my friends. I think that will be a continued aspect of the show. I do want to share that. I do want to welcome as many people as who would like to be on the show on it. And the big thing about that is that I want it to be very organic and very based in who's most passionate about doing a podcast. So, if you are really motivated to be on a podcast or do something like this, whatever stage you are in your journey, I really hope that you will reach out, because, I've now interviewed people of all different levels of their journey, and there's something magic about, well, not magic. I mean, it's just something awesome. Awesome is a better word, because there's nothing magical about it. It's just, it's awesome about recording a timestamp in your life and having that time to really process where you are, where you want to go, and discuss that with another individual who is more, lacking in bias to your life, and can give you a projection that is, probably a very different perspective. And then, to put that out as a public thing, that also is a huge thing, because I think that just having the courage to be seen at any phase of our experience is what it takes, I think, ultimately to be successful in the end, because you have to be willing to be observed, critiqued, examined, and not just on a personal level, but in a grand scale. And I think that people who are truly successful desire that kind of scrutiny. So if you embrace it on this level, I think that you can graduate into more and more levels of awesomeness. Of awesomeness. And don't we all just want to be awesome? So I really want to lighten the look of the show. When I look at the Instagram feed, it's very dark to me. Like, overall, the colors are very dark. And I started it out that way, like kind of brooding and, black and white meets red. And I like that, because I think that, there is the extremes of black and white, and then, red is such a great catching color, kind of the lifeblood of something. But overall, it has been very dark, and I don't think there's been enough light, enough white given to things. So I might reverse a bit of the backgrounds. I've made a lot of backgrounds black with white. I think I might reverse that. I also think that my emblem for this podcast needs to change, mostly because Saraswati was the Indian goddess that I was exploring, and it was mostly because Rico was like, well, you gotta have a logo or an emblem that is very easily registered and seen and replicated and printed. And I agreed with him. And the Starbucks siren and their emblem is very catching, and it's something that people, and in the way it's formulated, they recognize and are very drawn to at this point. So I kind of did a parody or a spin-off of that as my template, and I formulated the Apprenticeship Diaries emblem with Saraswati as the goddess that I was exploring, because she's the Indian goddess of education. It's not that I feel like that's invalid. I'm gonna keep it as something that I offer as, I think, things that you can order off of TeePublic and things like that. Like if you wanted to get materials like that, if you haven't gotten it already, I don't know why you would now, but just as kind of like a moving historical account of the show. I'm not going to limit anybody's attachment to that emblem, but I also feel like as far as my spiritual connection to things, I utilize that goddess because she worked at the time. She worked for what I was aiming to create. The emblem that needed to, in my mind, kind of parody off of the Starbucks siren, which I was using as my template, and then the mission, the mode of the goddess. I in general want to focus more in alignment with the original thought of this podcast, which was very centered around just apprenticeship and learning and diaries, because I think that this show has become more of just a regular diary submission, and that is kind of the beauty of it. And I would like to, I think, step into more of that, because I'm really enjoying just documenting and documenting and what kind of forms that takes. I want to play with that a bit. I want to encourage journaling of all kinds to people, whether it be like this, something that's spoken, recorded. I really want to focus more on that, because I think within that, what I've found with having a regular podcast weekly and submitting myself regularly to the habit of this task has been monumental to my life. And, I think that trying to reinvoke what I was starting with calligraphy, copying the Bible, reinvesting in these things would be a great focus for the show. And I kind of want to give more to that. I also would like to share with the audience a lot more of what I'm finding out spiritually, and organizationally. I don't know how else to put it, I guess. This is all just very ad-libbed right now. I want to share with all of you kind of the order of things that I am learning. One of the things that I announced a couple weeks ago was that I was going to start marriage counseling with Rico. And that's happening. And it was kind of fun to see how that initial announcement was received. Everybody's excited about weddings. It's so funny to me. Because it's just nothing that I have really cared that much about, to be honest with everyone. Most, I think, little girls, at least in my experience, my friends growing up, always, thought about their marriage and dreamt about that day and how it would look and things like that. And that was never a thing for me. I think for me, I really like all of the creation of the aspects of a wedding. Like I like the backstage work. Like, I would want to make the flowers. I would want to decorate the bride. I would want to help you, pick out your dress or, so I've always been, I guess, the bridesmaid and never the bride. And I've been very content with that, role. But it has not ever been something that I have thought about for myself. And so now walking into doing this with someone that I really want to be married with and to even understand marriage from a place that matters to me, that I really want to do for the reasons that marriage was originally founded in, is wonderful to me. And, I'd like the show to kind of move more into the kind of things that I'm learning spiritually and share that with all of you. They have been just life-changing. And I'm truly feeling pulled in a way to communicate them because it's been so expansive for myself, and given such meaning to things that I didn't realize I cared about, that I want to share it with everyone. And it's been funny because as of late, I've been connecting with friends of mine that, about these kind of things and sharing our concepts of life and even just like our concepts of things like marriage, what they are to us and how they can be constructed and, the individual nature of those things and, what does it mean when it means something, and what does it look like when it means something, and what does it mean to you, and what was the original foundational principle of this thing. So I'm really nerding out when it comes to these things, and it's specifically being driven by my investment in the Bible and reading the Bible. I'm just really enjoying it. And I want to share this more with all of you as this podcast progresses. And I realize that I am risking a lot because I'm going to lose a lot of followers as a result of this. A lot of people, I don't know. I don't know. With every door that closes, another couple seem to open. So, and I do think that that's the beauty of taking the kind of leaps that God asks us to take in our lives when we're seeking our betterment. And that's what I've found through my spiritual journey is this. And I've been seeking, I've had a spiritual journey my whole life. But it isn't until recently that I've found such peace and such crazy involvement, and not crazy. It just such great. I'm just in love with it, guys. I'm just in love with it, and I want to talk about it. And I want to talk about it because I don't think a lot of people are aware of certain things. I know I certainly wasn't. I want to talk about it because I think that it comes up more often than not, and especially because the general premise that most people think in civilized conversation is that you don't talk about religion and politics, and I think that's a problem because we have suppressed that so long that now it's like how many the conversation always leads there for me, and I find myself always getting there, and I really don't feel like I can avoid it, so I have to just lean into it and be willing to share this come hell or high water. And even that phrase, like that's biblical, like that's a biblical phrase, come hell or high water. And I would like to share with all of you the things that I'm learning. For instance, one thing that was traditionally recognized at this season of the year between Mother's Day and Father's Day was the celebration of the traditional family. And most people don't realize that there are tiers of governance and government. First being, there's four big ones. There's I hope I can remember this verbatim. We're gonna test me and see if I can. But the first is self-government. But self-government requires moral conditioning and influence. So, in order to self-govern properly, you do need, because you're not just a free-floating entity in space. So, if you didn't have any conflicting bodies or matter to self-governance, there would be no conflict, right? So then there would be nothing really to govern because there would be no conflict. So there's self-governance, but self-governance is not one that you can really look to as a government unit per se, because it doesn't involve more than one person. There's family, there's church, and then there's civil. So the family actually traditionally is supposed to cover the most things in our lives and has the most influence over things. And next would be the church that takes over after that. And the civil government is really just supposed to protect those other two and divvy out civil justice when it comes to a gross civil misconduct, like murder. But family handles children, the raising of children, the education of children, business, inheritance, what else? Property. Families, biblically, were the governance of these things. Civil government was never, ever supposed to have the kind of influence that it does today in any of those things. And the reason why I bring this up is because of late I feel like a big problem in America today, at least, I do think this is universal, but I do think that America, in our foundation, was set more on these principles because the people who founded our documents were students of the Bible, and they understood it very well. And they utilized the Bible as a direct, a direct writing to influence the construction of the U.S. Constitution. And it was that study and influence that had them very much so recognize the immense injustices that were happening in England, where they were escaping from. And when they compared it to principles of faith and the Bible, they realized how off their governance was in England. And that's why they were seeking, separation. And they declared their independence from that system of rule. So when we understand why people did the things they did and what these things were founded on and the principles that they were founded on, we can then track it back to a place of, I think at the very least, something that's stable. What I see now is that we have given up so much of our liberty and so much of our control to entities that should have never, ever, 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 ever been able to take that from us. That, I mean, the within this podcast, if I can share with a few people at least what I'm learning, that will have helped me spread truth as far as I can tell, and be an integral action on my part. But as far as the grand scheme of things and what I see in this country right now, we have completely flipped everything on its ass, and the destruction of the traditional and nuclear family has been a very pointed effort in this country. And the reasons for that are immense, because power structures have always sought to destroy that governance. Because if that governance is strong, and as it should be, then the civil government can actually have no power. And that's not how they would like it. They would like to have more power than they should have. And, everyone, that's what we escaped when we escaped England. When we came here, and when the people of this country decided that it was worth sacrificing themselves and their children to this effort, their entire futures to this effort of rewriting their futures and risking all to create this place and this space, this opportunity that everyone of this generation has had the very amazing privilege of enjoying. I think it's very important for us to understand that, and to understand what they were escaping. And they were escaping a system of governance that had flipped everything on its ass and devalued the family and taken control of every aspect of what we are supposed to have free in this country. And our Constitution is written with that. The way it is constructed is supposed to recognize our inalienable rights. And it's to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and for all. And this country has gone through many different waves, and it is not perfect. I mean, if you study the Bible and you study human nature itself, it'll tell you right away that how to manage your expectations, and how to approach everything well within what to expect from people. But those inalienable rights, they come and are bestowed by our Creator. And they are things that cannot be taken away. That's what makes them inalienable, is that they cannot be removed from us, no matter no matter who seeks to take those things. And, I think that the way that people have been taught nowadays is very faulty, because I am not claiming anything better, because it took me about 40 years to fully immerse myself in different avenues of thought, explore a bunch of things. Like I said, Saraswati was the goddess that I chose as a moniker of this podcast, and now I am thinking in a different way. So as you guys are hearing, there's a shift that's happening, and it's a growth, and I hope it's understood that we should be in a moving kind of state towards our betterment always, and that's what being educated is all about. You cannot fill a cup that is already full. And I said this earlier today, but a great mentor of mine basically said that if you think you know everything, well, then you're done. You're done. You're ready to die. So do not be that arrogant, and do not be that, I think, satisfied with who you are and what you are. It's okay to love yourself, but what I'm getting at is that we're all flawed. And I think that understanding the flaws that we have is very important in how we can love one another. And then understanding who and what these principles of our government and governance were founded on, and why they were founded as they were, with this incredible ideal and highest order, which is God, to understand and seek understanding, and that relationship is probably what we all should really aim for. And I don't think that any one of us should think that we know. It should be about listening. So if you're listening to me, you're already really, really primed for this kind of thing, because you're already showing that you have the ability to stop and listen. But I want to make everyone aware that I am looking to shift things with this podcast in both look and symbolically. These things all matter to me, because once you realize that everything matters, then it does. And I'm finding a conflict with recognizing a deity that I don't really know. Saraswati, I think, is pretty cool, but I'm not Indian. I didn't grow up with an Eastern philosophy of things. I'm not Buddhist. I'm not Hindi. I believe in a Trinitarian God, and I want to talk about that, and I would like that to be as foundational in this podcast as it is becoming for every aspect of my life, and admitting that, and just being very, very clear and very honest about that, and very truthful. I'm not trying to cancel or discount anything up until this point. It's all been integral. It's all been me investing time and exploring and pushing and looking and seeking. And I hope it will continue to be that. It will be, because just so you all know, I haven't even read the entire Bible yet. So it will be that, but I want to focus there, and I'm really being called to it. And so I guess at this point, if you came here because you wanted to listen to a bunch of tattoo artists talk about their experience learning, You might want to look out for the times that I have a tattoo artist on as a guest, and that might be your only listening pleasure. If you were drawn to this because you truly like me and like listening to me, and I'm a voice that you appreciate and enjoy, then I think you'll want to continue listening, because my voice, apart from being infected with plague, and I'm sure you can still hear a little bit of it, is pretty consistent. And so hopefully that will continue to meet your expectations and grow and be better and better. And then, if you're repulsed by any mention of God or the Bible or anything like that, I hope you'll do yourself the favor of excusing yourself and finding your own journey, I suppose. You will be going with my prayers for you. I want the best for you, and I understand. I understand as so much as that it took me a very long time to be sure about this and to really want it and to invest myself as I am right now. So I understand, and all I can say is God bless and peace be with you in all things that you do, and I pray that you will continue to grow as a human being and better yourself. But we're all at different paces, and even within being in Christ and studying what that even means, our walk, it's all different depending on who you are. We are all gifted with different things. Our walks and our concentrations, our beings are endowed with different, strengths, and we're all meant to interpret and express in our own ways. And so I want the best for everyone. So if you have to leave, I want you to know that I love you very much and I appreciate it. Because I think that's a loving act that you're doing for yourself. If you know that you're not going to enjoy your time here, why bother? Why bother? And as far as the rest, I would like to ask listeners if you could do me the favor of praying for me as I meditate on what's next. I've been saying this for a couple weeks now. I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but this is truly how it works for me, and I do think how it works in general is that you have to open yourself up to really listening and feeling out all that is coming to you, and reorder it as it comes, and you can't force it. I don't know if I've shared this or not. I think I have, maybe, but I'll reiterate it because I think it's important. A friend of mine, Tara, she's actually been on the show, asked me about my journey, my spiritual journey, and she asked if it has made me better around other people, and the answer to that is yes. But better in whose estimation, I think, is the key to that, because there's so many things to examine within that statement. First of all, as I was getting at, we have to know the order of things in order to understand whether or not the relationship is balanced, right? So before this time in my life where I've been exploring my faith and the Bible and all of these different things, I feel like I was a person who honestly let people get away with way too much. I gave them far too many excuses, far too much of my time, far too much of everything. And I think that I didn't expel and have enough love for myself and for my own journey in order to keep the relationship between me and another person balanced. So, this most recent time in my life has been a reordering of things. It's been very hard for me because I've had to learn new habits, new ways of comporting myself with other people. And it's been challenging because, a lot of things, you don't first of all, are misinterpreted as mean or unkind or those things, because simply if you're reordering things in alignment with what profits everyone, if you're dealing with a bunch of people who have been given too much leeway for a long time, they're going to feel very, very infringed upon at this point. And so there's been a lot of pruning of my trees lately. So when Tara asked me how my relationships have been with other people, they have been, in fact, better. But there has been, there's been an examination of myself and who I am, and how much patience I actually have when it comes down to what I know my expectation should be of any individual and what I actually get from people. And so there's been a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointment, a lot of frustration, and there's been a lot of me reminding myself, too, that I am no better than anyone else. So within that, there's been just this immense amount of gross feeling that I've had, which makes the title of this Plague Survivor, I guess, apropos, because I think that is how I have felt emerging from the sickness that I felt, is that I was kind of reached the limits of my boundaries and my energy output at this point, and I had been overdoing it. And that's a cyclical thing for me, and a thing that I keep doing to myself. And I think emerging from it, I'm going to very much so try not to do that. And I hope that all of you will hold me accountable of that, as I'm walking into so much that I'm trying to reorder and get to the kind of foundational stability that I think has potential of growth. It doesn't feel good, diary listeners. It really doesn't. But it's honest. It's the truth of my situation, and my hope is that this will matter to whoever's listening, that it will be something that registers in your heart, and that, I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. So I'm hoping that it speaks to you, and, I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to share this with all of you. And, you can listen or you can not, it's very free at this point, but I hope that the engagement that we have will grow, that the friendships, the connections, will grow, that all of us will rise very much so together. I'm very excited for what's next. Things are moving forward in ways that like I communicated earlier, had never imagined they would. I'm valuing things that I never thought I would value. It's all pretty cool. But I don't know much. I don't know much to say about any one thing, because I'm in such a state of movement and learning and healing and revisiting and examination that I don't have much to say, except for I am moving towards marrying Rico. So many of you have heard him on the show. have experienced us in real time. He's my guy. He's awesome, and we're taking this walk together, which is such a blessing. And it's truly cool. And we're doing counseling sessions together. So that's the step we're in right now as far as getting married. And just to let everyone know in regards to that, there's, I think, 5 to 6 sessions with our pastor, Pastor David Whitney. And he goes over the traditional biblical, understanding of marriage, because that's where he is. He is a biblical pastor. He teaches the Bible. He talks about the Bible. He asserts the Bible and compares it to current events, current happenings. We all understand it and know it and state it as the direct word of God and what God's wants are for us. It's the law that God has given us, and his report that we can glean from should we choose. So, babe, I'm still podcasting. You can't do it. You can't. I guess that means that I've talked for long enough. But basically, we're going through that. We're learning this together. It's very awesome. I'm very grateful for Rico and his involvement in all of this, because and that we're collaborating as a unit. You'd think that was just given, but in my experience, especially nowadays, I don't think that people have a view of family, a view of marriage, a view of any of these things that have any foundational principles. I think they're making it what they want it to be. But within that, if there isn't a at the very least a sincere collaboration between two people to very much so dedicate themselves foundationally to the same mission, which is, at its core, that's not the biblical version, but it's as far as order, as far as like two people doing a thing together. How do you do that if you don't sit and you don't discuss it and you don't break it apart and you don't examine it? So I'm very grateful for this time and for being led through it with such an incredible pastor and lead. My pastor is such a gift. He is truly unique. And Rico, he's such a blessing. And even though he came in and tried to interrupt us just now, he's my guy. He constantly makes me happy. So yeah, diary listeners, that's where I'm at. I'm better. I'm not fully recovered, though I'm covered enough to produce a show and speak to y'all for almost an hour. So with that, I'll let you go with the rest of your week, your day, however much time you want to take away from the show now that you know what's going on. And I thank you. I thank you very much, and I wish you a very powerful, awesome week, because we're all trying to be more awesome. And God bless, and pray for me. I will be praying for you. Later, listeners.
Thanks for listening. You can find the Apprenticeship Diaries on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our IG is _apprenticeship_diaries. If you would like to offer constructive criticism or an interview, drop us an email at theapprenticeshipdiaries@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from our listeners.